Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today I'm talking about stop chasing love and relationships and do this instead. Okay, so the reason why you want to stop chasing romance and relationships is, first of all, chasing and doing too much basically is often unattractive. And the more invested you are into something, the more likely you are to actually make mistakes. Okay, so the first point that I'll make is that you need to put love and romance at a lower priority. Because right now, especially if this is the first video you've come across of mine and this has really stuck out to you, then one of the things that might be going wrong with you is that you're putting love too high on your list of priorities and finding love. Okay, now of course, finding love is important, right? It's a good idea to have someone to spend your life with who you enjoy the company of, and you might be really desperate for that right now. And I completely understand your point of view, because perhaps for you, you may be a little bit older and you're hoping to have kids someday. This is a big issue with a lot of women, right? We understand that our body clocks it's a lot shorter than men's when it comes to fertility. So women typically like to have that kind of stuff done in their mid-20s, where they're like married together, so they can start having babies, right? Because when a woman gets to the age of 30, and especially the age of 35, that's when things really start to decrease in the fertility department, right? The time when a woman is most fertile is actually when she's in her teenage years and in her early 20s. So the more time goes on, the more desperate that single women get for relationships and to find a man or woman, whatever the case may be, so they can settle down and start having that family, especially if it's something that they truly want. Now, there are a lot of women out there that don't want kids, but there's also a huge amount of women that do. So this kind of thing is really important to them, right? With guys, you guys who go, some of you men who may be watching this, you can kind of relax a little bit on this, because there are some men that can still have babies when they're like 70, right? Unless you have some sort of like problem with your fertility. But all in all, there are a lot of people out there desperate for love, right? And because women have a body clock, and sometimes men just really want to settle down as well, and they really want that family, or they just really want someone to be with because they're sick of being single and they want someone they can connect with. So I understand the desperation, right? I understand why it might be at the top of someone's priority list. But the thing is if you put it that high up, if you put finding love that high up, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to make an emotional mistake, right? Because when you get on a date with someone that you really, really like, you're going to get attached really soon, because you're trying to lock them down to a relationship because you're desperate for a relationship, right? And if you're desperate for a relationship and you're desperate for them, then you're going to look needy, you're going to look insecure, you're not going to look very attractive, okay? So what you do want to do instead then is you just for a while, just focus on your own life and your own goals. It doesn't mean that you should stop dating. Continue dating, right? But do it as like a passive thing, kind of like a hobby, right? And treat the rest of your life like a full-time job, like your top priority. So this means focusing on your goals. Perhaps you've got some weight loss goals or weight gain goals. Perhaps you've got some business goals. Perhaps you've got some hobbies or some skills that you would really like to learn. For a while, just put those at the top of the list, okay? And see what happens when you use dating as more of like a passive thing rather than the main thing of your life, right? So focus on your own life and your own goals, and what that'll do as well is that'll make you feel a lot more confident about yourself, because if you do have a vision for your life, right, and there's something where you'd like to go, there's a kind of lifestyle that you'd like to be living, then you've got to try and make that a reality, because you don't want your dreams to just diminish, right? Because sometimes we focus so much of our time, so many years on the wrong things, right, and having the wrong things at the top of the list. It doesn't mean that those things are not important, but sometimes we prioritize things that we really shouldn't be prioritizing. So when you instead focus more on creating a great life for yourself, the more fulfilled you start to feel inside. Because you know what, you think, okay, I would love to live this kind of lifestyle. I would love to live in this kind of house. I'd love to have that kind of body. I'd love to be having that kind of friendship, those kinds of friendships. I'd love to be in that kind of work environment. Or I would like to be working for myself. I'd love to be self-employed. When you focus more on that and you start making those dreams a reality, even though sometimes it can take time, And that's when it seems, and it's odd, right? But that is really when it seems that love, you attract more people into your life, and romance becomes a lot more easier because you've got other things that is taking up your mind space. And if your mind space, right, not my space, mind space is taken up with romance and love, or that crush that you have, because you go on a date with them, they blow your mind because they look so gorgeous in whatever way that you like, right? And they just tick all the boxes for you. But they're the main thing in your life. The romance is the main thing in your life. You're going to make emotional mistakes. You are going to come across as needy. You are going to come across as desperate, which in return is going to completely chase them away. Okay? So there's a bit of a balance here that you need to figure out. Okay? And that is the balance of, being interested in them and dating them, but also not coming on too strong and being desperate for them. Okay? So all in all, what the point that I'm trying to put across here is that romance is not about finding someone to complete you, because I feel like that's where a lot of people go wrong when they're dating, especially people that date and they get too invested too soon, right? What it should really be is a partnership where two complete people already come together, that come together and create a union, right? You shouldn't be looking for someone to complete you, to fulfill you, right? Because if you're doing that, when they upset you or when they don't do what you're hoping they're going to do, or they reject you, your whole world is going to fall apart because you've made them your world, right? They've become such a high priority in your life that if they do something that upsets you, your whole world falls apart. That's why you can't allow another person to come into your life to help complete you. You should already be complete. You should already be happy with your life, even if it's not so much because you might not be happy with your life, but you're still doing stuff. You've got your path. You're on a path that is leading you to somewhere where you do want to go. That's the best place to be in. Obviously, the best place is to have already achieved your goals, or you've already got that lifestyle that you really like. That's when you can really easily attract people into your life. But the very least, you've got to be taking action every day to try and get you to where you want to be, if you're not where you want to be already. Okay? You have to be on a path that you're happy with, even if you're not currently happy with your situation. And that's the kind of place that I was on when I met my wife. I wasn't happy with where I was, right? I wasn't happy with, my current circumstances. But I did have dreams, I did have goals that I was working towards. And because I had that, and I didn't make my wife, when I met her, my entire life, because I had other things that I was doing, that really helped because I was less attached to her, and I was more detached. Now, it doesn't mean I didn't care about her. It doesn't mean that I was mean to her. It didn't mean that I was cold to her and I ignored her. I never did any of those things. I never ignored my wife when I met her. Whenever she reached out to me, I was always really happy to hear from her and ready to create a date so we could hang out with each other. But she wasn't my main focus and she wasn't my main priority. I had other things that I was interested in, other things that I was pursuing at that time, right? And that really helped because I had learned before that if I became too needy with girls that I liked, became too insecure, became so invested in them, made them my main priority, that's usually when they either walked all over me or they just rejected me flat out. Now, one of the mistakes that I made in my first relationship was I made her my complete priority, right? So I remember once when, this was actually around the time that she first cheated on me. At least I think it was. She probably actually cheated on me more times, but just didn't tell me about it. But it was around Christmas time, and I was so excited because I was going to be spending a whole week with her. And this was the first time I was going to be spending a whole entire week with her. And I was really excited about it. I remember being so happy and really, looking forward to it. And when I met up with her, when I went to go and stay at her place, she was just acting completely miserable, completely cold to me. And what I didn't realize was actually she was speaking to someone else. She was texting another girl. And that first night, actually, that I came and stayed with her was a Friday evening, I believe. And she went out, and that's when she cheated on me, that first night. And I was looking forward to just spending that whole week with her. And then she went out and did that to me. Now, I didn't realize that she'd done that at the time. It wasn't until a few weeks after that I realized what had been going on, because she confessed basically what had happened. But I put her as my main priority, and because I was so giving in that way, I guess you could say, she took advantage of that, right? She didn't put me as a priority, right? Now, if I had been a lot more clear-headed, right, if I had been a lot more sensible with what was going on, I probably would have noticed the red flags, but instead I was projecting. I was trying to make her my world, and it really backfired on me. Now, I'm not saying that if you, make someone your entire world and you're really devoted to them or whatever, that they're going to cheat on you, because I was unlucky, basically, what I should say. Is that, well, maybe actually I was lucky rather than unlucky. Maybe I was lucky to get out of it. But you can see my point. You can feel unlucky at the time. But if I had just been more clear-headed about it, and if I'd just been a lot more relaxed, then I probably would have noticed the red flags a lot more. And that thing probably wouldn't have even happened to me, because perhaps I would have dumped them a lot sooner. Because the first time, within the first weeks of dating her, she asked me the question, what would you do if I cheated on you, right? Now, no normal person who isn't a cheater is not, someone who's not a cheater is not going to ask you that kind of thing. Because what they're doing is they're testing the waters. They're saying, how far can I push you? Can I continue to act like an ass, basically? And will you just let it happen, right? And essentially, that's what happened, right? I let her walk all over me because I was focused on basically trying to make it work and projecting what my fantasy was, thinking, oh yeah, this is going to be amazing. We're going to have a family one day. Everything's going to be amazing. We're going to get married. We're going to do all these amazing things, and I was just thinking about that, and I was projecting instead of actually seeing the reality of what I actually had on my hands, which was someone who didn't really care for fidelity, right? Obviously, I'm not saying, I speak about that relationship a lot, but I was obviously no saint during those times either. I was in my early 20s. I was a bit of an idiot too. So I don't want to keep on bashing my ex for that, because, in reality, she cheated on me, fine, but I was a bit of an asshole as well sometimes. So it was basically two really immature people coming together and it just being super explosive and stupid, right? But getting back to the main point here is that you want to become less attached, in the beginning at least, right? You need to be a lot more cool about it. You need to have other things that are going on in your life. You don't want to have them as your main priority, because if you do and you have them as your main priority, things are going to get clouded, okay? It's going to get messy. And when they upset you, your whole world is going to fall apart, because that's what happened to me. When my ex did say that she cheated on me, my whole world fell apart. I was so upset. I was devastated, right? It hurt so bad. I've never, that pain was just awful. At that point, I'd never felt anything as painful as that. It was just awful, right? But that's what happens when you make someone your entire world, right? When they disappoint you, when they do something that you don't like, when you have an argument or a disagreement, your whole world's going to feel like it's crumbling around you, because you've made them your whole world, right? So you got to stop chasing love and relationships like that, like it's your main priority. You got to have it as, put it on a back burner. It doesn't mean that you're not still swiping on Tinder and all the other dating apps that you may have. It still doesn't mean that you're not looking out for someone to, if you see someone attractive, you don't, you stop asking people for their numbers. You should continue doing those things, but you should have other things in your life as your main focus, because it makes you less attached to them. And if you are less attached, you're going to look more attractive, right? Even to them, because they're going to see that you're not chasing after them so much. You're just letting them be. You're letting them be a human. Because a lot of the time, especially if someone is really, really attractive, they're used to getting a lot of attention all the time, right? And when there's someone who isn't giving them that amount of attention, even though they know that they like them, they're more inclined to go and be drawn towards that person, because it seems to be that I've seen that we seem to be more attracted to people that are less affected by us, right? The more someone is a little bit indifferent, the more we are pulled towards those people. And another cool thing as well is that it always seems as well, it doesn't have to be romance and relationships, but also it seems to me that the people who seek approval less often get the most approval, right? So if you're someone who's always wanting approval, trying to prove yourself to other people, the less people respect you. But the more you don't actually put other people's opinions on a pedestal, and you kind of care more about how you feel about yourself and how you come across and, that kind of thing, that's when other people start respecting you more and giving you approval. So it works in all different kinds of ways. Okay, so that's why you should stop chasing love and relationships and instead focus on your own life and your own goals. Put romance lower down the list, basically. So thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to get in touch with me personally and you'd like coaching with me, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.